Thanks for joining us for the last 7 days. I'm Brian Spellman.
And I'm Andrew Sparrow.
And Andrew, I think hopefully for maybe a Christmas gift, we'll get you that new song, even what you've been hoping for so much.
Where everybody knows your name.
But today, it's Friday, December 8th, and we're going to spend the next few minutes talking about the news over the last week and how it impacts our world of PLM, CAD, MES, MOM, MFG. Did I miss any of those TLAs?
I think you got most of our three-letter acronyms. You got it. So today we're going to be talking about aerospace, automotive, high-tech, people, culture, industrial engineering, all sorts of big stuff going on in the world today.
Yeah, coming up, airlines see record travel.
FAA makes statement on mental health.
Airbus opens aluminum 3D printing center.
And Boeing delays its 737 ramp up.
SpaceX dominates the space industry.
Magna International is enhancing its automated driving.
VW workers sign UAW cards.
And US DOT and self-driving cars.
A decap CT drone dock for the Cybertruck.
Chinese car sales are on the rise.
Analysts talk GoPro.
Jabil have just held the grand opening of the third production plant in Chihuahua, Mexico.
And UFP buys Norpol and Tabasa.
Ready, set, let's go.
Sounds like a plane that started flying and then stopped and then restarted flying. It's one of those time warp fancy things that proves the world is actually a simulation instead of real.
Oh, he's going Matrix. Okay.
Yeah, or airlines see stable profits and actually record travelers. The airline sector has returned to profitability with net profits expected at 23.3 billion, set to reach 25.7 billion. The International Air Traffic Transport Association said that while airport revenues are tipped to reach a record 964 billion, the high cost of capital driven by rising interest rates is troubling. All of this has to be put into perspective. They say that on average, airlines retain, how much do you think, guys? How much money per passenger do airlines retain?
How much do they retain per passenger?
Per passenger.
Oh boy, that's a tricky one.
$50.
I'll give you a hint. It's just enough to buy a latte. Yeah, apparently, on average, airlines only retain $5.45 per passenger. But
Starbucks
if
latte.
you multiply that by 4.7 billion travelers, not terrible. My other question for you is jet fuel prices, right? Jet fuel prices, how much of airline operating cost, what percentage do jet fuel prices account for?
15%. 22, 23%.
Yeah, it's apparently 31%.
Ooh. Wow. Okay, no wonder we see price fluctuations when gas goes up, down. When it goes up anyway. When it comes down, it doesn't seem to make a difference. Anyways. Okay, next up, Boeing is in advanced talks to sell around 80 wide-bodied 787 Dreamliner jets to Thai Airways after pulling ahead of Airbus in a widely watched fleet renewal talk. The Thai national carrier is looking to make the most of a post-pandemic travel boom by bolstering regional routes, but there have been some concerns over the ability of plane makers Airbus and Boeing to ramp up output to meet surging demand.
And Boeing has been eliminated from the U.S. Air Force's Doomsday plane competition. The U.S. Air Force has been trying to find who's going to make the successor to the Night Watch, which is basically the battle to build the aircraft called the Doomsday plane because it can survive a nuclear war. This move is going to leave Sierra Nevada Corporation as the only company that's publicly vying for this project. There are some that are privately vying for it that we don't know about. The reason for this is that Boeing and the Air Force were unable to come to an agreement on data rights and contract terms, and Boeing refused to sign a fixed price agreement. Boeing has actually lost $1.3 billion this year on fixed price development programs, including the Starliner and Air Force One, and it's apparently lost $16.3 billion on fixed price programs since 2014.
That's pretty surprising and disappointing, I got to say, because I know the E4B Nightwatch is actually a 747 that's been modified. So they're the original builders of this aircraft, and to not even be in the race because of a bunch of red tape, probably that's disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In other news, the FAA has made a statement and taken some action following up on an event that happened last month where an Alaskan airline pilot tried to shut the engines off of a commercial flight while in flight. The agency has officially established the Mental Health and Aviation Medical Clearances Rulemaking Committee, which sounds like a lot of words. Acronym is ARC, the ARC. And so the ARC will be providing recommendations to the FAA on ways to identify and break down any remaining barriers that discourage pilots from reporting and seeking care for mental health issues. I'm excited that they're making progress on this. I wish it was a little bit faster, but sounds like the rulemaking committee is submitting its recommendations to the FAA by the end of March 2024.
Yeah, we've mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, I think, and it's good to see there is some progress happening here to make it maybe a little safer or encouraged to actually talk about mental health.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Airbus Helicopters opens 3D printing center for aluminum components. Airbus opened a new 3D printing center at its site in Donauwörth. I think I need to say that again. Donauwörth in Germany, surprisingly enough. The company now operates, you thought it was probably China, I guess, from my pronunciation, but there we go. The company now operates 3 machines for components made of titanium, 4 for plastic parts, and as a new element, a machine that can produce components made of aluminum. 3D printing, as we know, is one of those Industry 4 technologies capable of having a huge impact across many industries, reducing the weight of aircraft components, reducing the amount of jet fuel that is needed, and significantly increasing resource efficiency in the manufacturing process with much higher flexibility. 3D additive manufacturing can make it easier to produce complex structures versus conventional methods. A conventional manufacturing process requires up to 10 times more raw material than the final product, whereas additive manufacturing requires only 1.5 times as much. I'm a huge fan. I've got to say of 3D additive manufacturing. However, it does come with a bunch of challenges. Brian, what do you think?
I think historically there's some challenges with 3D manufacture or 3D additive manufacturing, which are the size of the parts you can create because you're restricted by how big the machines are that are printing, right? The quality and consistency, all of this is printed in layers, and sometimes the structural of strength of each layer doesn't, there's possibilities of it not being strong all the way through. Of course, scalability and material cost. With all that being said, though, if there's a facility being opened up just to 3D print aluminum components, it sounds like a lot of this must have been thought through and kind of figured out. And we are seeing a lot more 3D printing happening in the world. Have you seen the houses, the videos of like houses being printed 3D concrete?
Yeah,
printed?
like the icing on the cake thing. Yeah. It goes and builds up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch. And I think it's going to be more and more, pretty soon, every household's going to have a 3D printer just for printing random stuff that we can print now, like we used to have, 2D printers, which seem to be going. Do you guys know every house used to have a 2D printer, right? Like when I was growing up, every house had a printer. And what were we printing all the time?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure it was recipes and maps.
Oh, definitely.
And
yep.
Can't forget
gotcha. I got to see this 3D additive manufacturing is really interesting from a manufacturing execution perspective. It's a lot more complex than actually getting an MES MOM to harmonize new processes, essentially kind of recipes that you're going to pull from titanium, aluminum products. It's going to be interesting. So you need a pretty good MES MOM to handle that.
Yeah. Boeing has signaled a delay for the 737 production ramp up. They said there's going to be a delay in this ramp up for about 2 months, moving slower than planned. The U.S. plane maker expects to produce 42 of its 737s per month starting in February of 2024. They still plan to increase to 50 planes per month in the 2025-2026 timeframe. Interestingly enough, before the grounding of the 737 MAX in 2019, Boeing was producing 52 737s a month. Andrew, what do you think a reason for a 2-month delay in production ramp up could be?
I guess there's some pretty consistent three things really. Probably supply chain disruption, workforce challenges, maybe even quality control concerns. On the supply chain side, maybe getting a little closer to your suppliers and considering a lot more kind of collaboration for contingency planning, maybe better HR strategies. If HR, you can't bring in more workforce, maybe looking at automation. And then on the quality side of things, implementing advanced manufacturing technologies and automation can streamline your production processes, start refocusing on continuous improvement initiatives, et cetera.
Yeah. Andrew, when you mention HR strategies, I mean, are there any that come to mind initially? I've got a few, of course, but
Yeah, A&D is probably the most impacted sector when it comes to retiring workforce. I think the stats still stand that for every 4 who are retiring, disappearing, 1 is joining. So you've got a major issue there. Why is that? I think a lot of it is to do with manufacturing not modernizing and therefore attracting the younger workforce. That needs to change dramatically. At the moment, the thought of, if I'm 24, 25 years old and I'm going to roll my sleeves up and get covered in grease, probably isn't going to appeal to me too much. I don't know, maybe not, but I think they need to widen the attractiveness to the new generation coming through. Things like the ability to change lines, make decisions, be empowered on the lines, which means digital transformation doesn't start at the top. It starts at the bottom, starts with the user and making things, things like low code, no code platforms, so I can change things in my hands rather than waiting for it to be imposed.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I completely understand why you would want to lean into automation. If for every 4 people retiring, there's going to be 1 person doing 4 persons' job. So automation is going to be huge there.
AI.
And I think yeah. And I think you made a good point on the supplier relationship, supply chain management, right? The delays signifying the importance of managing those relationships with suppliers, crucial for maintaining that production efficiency. And then, of course, workplace dynamics, right? Shifting production rates are going to impact employee workload and stress. And so shifting production rates while also a shift in the workforce could be the perfect storm. So keeping an eye out for that is going to be important.
Yeah, you bet. Keeping ourselves in the air, some of the Pentagon's drones cost their weight in gold. So Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks is pushing the Replicator project down a fast track with contractor selection expected this month. Replicator seeks to rapidly produce thousands of small, highly capable drones at low cost. It's a feat which would be easy enough in the commercial sector, but of course in the military, it's like trying to defy the law of gravity. The seemingly inexorable cost escalation has been described by the cynically humorous Augustine's laws. Brian, you heard of that with your A&D background?
I have, yeah.
Good. Well, I'm going to come back to you and test you, see how well you know them then a little later. So simply building to military specifications and jumping through all the hoops of certification, testing, and approval pushes costs up. Contractors who are working on a cost-plus basis have very little incentive, of course, to keep the prices down. Things are different. If you look at something like the conflict in Ukraine, where both sides have deployed tens of thousands of small commercial drones, consider quadcopters, 4 of those things going off, costing less than $2,000 have become vital for tactical reconnaissance, adjusting artillery fire and carrying bombs. The FPV, I've forgotten the acronym. What is it again? That's the kind of the hand-controlled racing drones. I think they are costing $400. Have become kamikaze.
First-person view.
Thank you. That's it. First-person view. Racing drones have become kamikazes, able to take out tanks. Wow, and other targets. Ukrainian fundraisers United 24 recently showed images of the first 800 of a batch of 3,000 FPVs. Being shipped to the front line, albeit locally. So come on, Brian, What do you know about Augustine's laws then?
I think the most appropriate one, because of what we base this show off of and all of these 3-letter acronyms, these TLAs, is that he said that acronyms and abbreviations should be used to the maximum extent possible to make trivial ideas profound. QED. So yeah, Norman Ralph Augustine, I think it was in the 1980s, which is definitely ancient times at this point, but he put together these laws that, while they are definitely comical, have a lot of truth to them. Some great classics like, bulls don't win bullfights, people do, and people don't win people fights, but lawyers do. Of course, one we can all relate to in this industry is that regulations grow at the same rate as weeds. And I think the most often one I've heard of in the aerospace industry was the one talking about how prices of aerospace increase exponentially. I think more specifically, it was actually the exact phrasing of this is, in the year 2054, the entire defense budget will purchase just one aircraft. This aircraft will have to be shared by the Air Force and Navy 3.5 days each per week, except for leap year, when it will be made available to the Marines for the extra day.
That's great.
If you understand that. Okay.
I love it. In other news, SpaceX is now worth $175 billion. Only Boeing is larger. Now, Lockheed, Boeing, and Airbus all have significant space businesses, but no space business comes close to SpaceX. In my opinion, Musk's space company pioneered reusable rockets and is going to launch more than half the planet's missions into orbit this year. On top of that, SpaceX is going to carry some 80% of the mass going into orbit this year on those missions. SpaceX is simply dominant. Boeing might be larger, but SpaceX is moving a little faster.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of SpaceX. I've got to say, they grabbed the market sector when they opened it up outside of NASA. You look at, obviously Elon's a bit of a magician. He brings out your Cybertruck. Everybody knows about it. He's got his Boring Company, his Tesla, et cetera, et cetera. And I know there's others, and I've just forgotten them for the moment. But if you look at what he's done with SpaceX, incredible cost efficiency. This whole law of first principles, where he said, look, we're going to design, manufacture everything in-house to drive that cost down. He's also introduced reusable rockets, heavy rockets, the BFR, another acronym for you, don't need to translate that one. His innovation and rapid deployment focus on commercial feasibility versus what used to be was not that. Highly flexible. If you today, the days of old, if you had a payload, NASA told you what that payload would be, how big it will be, what shape it will be. Elon's introduced very much a personalized model. So if you come along with a payload, he will try and adapt to that payload. So it's really interesting. Plus, you've got his agile corporate culture. And while I'm at it, they've also got a really good MES solution.
See, acronyms are everywhere. I guess.
Yep.
I guess Augustine was not wrong.
Yep.
Yeah, let's just keep driving along. He probably should have had some law, maybe he did, about puns, because those are everywhere now too. But Magna International is enhancing its automated driving capabilities by joining Northstar. As part of this agreement, there's Telia Sweden and Ericsson that have built a dedicated private 5G network at Magna's test track located in Sweden, where new cutting-edge advanced...
Where in Sweden?
Vargarda. We're hoping that's pronounced right. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah,
it's
probably in Italy.
Have a new ADAS, Advanced Driver Assistance System, to help with vehicle-to-vehicle, V2V, and vehicle-to-everything, V2X connectivity.
The United Auto Workers Union said on Thursday that more than 1,000 factory workers, approximately 30%, at Volkswagen's Chattanooga, Tennessee assembly plant have signed union authorization cards, which are basically what you're signing to be a member of the union. If 50% of workers seek to join, the UAW would then hold a rally with President Shawn Fain to tout the effort. And then at 70%, with an organization committee in place, the UAW would seek recognition and demand a union representation vote.
Speaking of coalitions, A coalition of groups representing self-driving car companies urged the U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg to support autonomous vehicles and assert federal jurisdiction. This letter comes after the state of California suspended the permit for GM to test the robotaxi on their roads following an incident in October where a pedestrian was dragged 20 feet by a self-driving vehicle. Without directly addressing their fine or potential fine for this, the GM CEO said on Monday that this crash has actually helped the automaker learn more about the need for transparency and a better relationship with regulators.
Next up, DCAP, CT drone dock anchoring system designed for the Tesla Cybertruck. So after the highly anticipated unveiling of the Cybertruck, Chinese unmanned aerial vehicle anchoring specialist Haisha has introduced its own innovation, the DCAP CT drone dock. I don't think they have a marketing department, do they? Can they not come up with a better name? Yeah, specifically designed for the Cybertruck. This drone anchoring system was launched alongside the Cybertruck, catering to the needs of Tesla's enthusiasts requiring convenient storage, charging, and flight capabilities for their aerial vehicles. I guess if you get a Cybertruck, you're bound to have a drone, aren't you? It just comes with the territory. So it is compatible with a variety of popular drone models from DJI, Skydio, good company, Autel, and Parrot. The DCAP features automatically adjustable charging currents to ensure optimal performance. Notably, Haisha has taken into account the limited space on the Cybertruck's bed, designing the anchoring system to fit snugly against the cabin and store the drones in an upright position. The efficient use of space allows Tesla drivers to maximize their vehicle's cargo area while having easy access to their drones for launching missions. Brian, PLM, challenges, interesting accessories. What do you think?
I think the most interesting thing is this just came out almost as soon as the Cybertruck was released, right? Which means there was definitely some collaboration between these companies and having to figure out how do you make this snugly fit in the exact part for the bed, because it has to be designed to those exact dimensions, which brings up, when you're creating something, you have some data you've got to share with other companies and some IP you want to keep to yourself, and figuring out how you do that IP data share is super important. I think the most probably known example about this is you look at anytime a new iPhone comes out, there's already a slew of accessories and cases that are perfectly designed to fit it, which means those dimensions have been shared, but not the inside information of it. So a lot of collaboration happening there.
Absolutely. Yeah, the new PLM is all about that concurrent design, isn't it? I mean, we were talking about it yesterday, Brian. It's all about getting your ecosystem together as you're designing so everybody can release at once and for maximum efficiency. It's good.
Yeah. Speaking of standoff, or I guess collaboration, Sweden, Denmark, and Norway are collaborating and standing off against Tesla this week. Musk, who was just last week saying, if we unionize, we deserve it, has drama going on in Sweden. Basically, there's not any manufacturing plants in Sweden, but there are several service centers. And so Swedish workers are demanding that Tesla sign a collective bargaining agreement. Now, Sweden doesn't have minimum wage laws. And so a lot of the organizations are run with collective bargaining agreements to make sure everyone is getting a fair cut, right? But in fact, mechanics walked off the job last month, and it's now escalating with both Norway and Denmark. Tesla employees are starting to walk off in solidarity with their Swedish partners. So just a reminder, if you're going to do business in another country, you've got to come into it with some flexibility, right? What works in the US isn't going to work in the UK and Sweden and China and all over the place.
You got it. Let's be honest, things are a little different in Scandinavia, a little different in Sweden. A lot of people don't realize Sweden is actually the most expensive country to employ people. Their social infrastructure is huge. And they've grown up with that. That is the culture, and that is totally acceptable to them. And I understand it. It is very different to what we've got here in the US. It's extremely different to what you might have in China. And so I don't want to get too political about it. What I will do is throw my passion of manufacturing into it from an operational perspective. What it does for me is it underscores the critical role of mass MOM systems in fostering adaptability. A robust MESMOM framework should not only enhance your production, but also be flexible enough to accommodate diverse labor practices and regulatory landscapes.
Yeah.
Yep. And one thing I found super interesting is that the Chinese car sales are on the rise. The passenger vehicle sales are 25.5% in November from a year earlier, and this is faster than expected. Car sales have totaled 2.1 million last month, which is up from just 1 month ago, 9.9%. The most interesting thing, though, is that while we keep hearing reports about EV sales being slowed down in the US or production being slowed down because they're worried about what demand's going to be, in China, new EV sales have accounted for over 40% of the total car sales just in the month of November. So there's a lot of EV happening over there.
You know, wasn't it just last week that we were discussing the growth in the Chinese auto market in Mexico?
You know, that was a fantastic transition comment, Greg. See, normally I get to make those transition comments, but you just snuck in with one of them. So good job, Greg. Now,
I gotta find where I can.
Manufacturing news, yeah.
First bit of high-tech consumer electronics news. Analysts say you should hold your position on GoPro. Interesting. So I think, you know, we saw GoPro a few years ago. They have this massive surge, and then they kind of hit that maybe a plateau, a few bumps in the road. But now they're saying hold your position. Things are looking up for GoPro. I suspect that's very much down to some pretty good strides in product quality that they've made this last year. They've won some awards for best-in-class image quality, video stabilization that's come together with a huge boost in battery run times to bring you what is now the most versatile, capable, and feature-packed hero camera ever.
Yeah, I think sometimes there are products that become like the name of that product becomes what that thing is known for, even if it's not that product. Like Kleenex, we know that that's just a tissue, but Kleenex did it. If you're going to search something, you say you're Googling it. I think GoPro's got to that point as well, where you just almost just go GoPro this thing. It's interesting to see that transition, because when it first came out, like, that's a cool device, and now it's everywhere.
Yep.
Speaking of,
I was going to say, as someone who skis a lot, I use GoPro, and their video stabilization technology is among the best that I've ever experienced. I mean, it's crazy. Even I'm thinking years back, I haven't seen the most recent one, so might be something I have to add to my Christmas list this year.
I think it's pretty good during your après ski where you've got a shaky hand. Your GoPro's just perfect for that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's perfect.
GoPro in one hand and the hot toddy in the other. Yep. So Jabil, I think, did I pronounce that right, Joseph? Jabil,
sir.
Jabil have held a grand opening for the third production plant in Chihuahua, Mexico, marking a milestone in the company's continued growth and commitment to the region. This is a 250,000 square foot plant that's going to play a critical role in supporting customers in energy, automotive, transportation, healthcare, a bunch of stuff. What can you tell us about this, Joseph?
That's right, sir. This area continues with the growing, being honest. So 3 key points about this. The inauguration of the third plant in Chihuahua for Jabil. Yeah. So the state of Chihuahua is supporting them, because all these movements with nearshore, they are supporting with different things for the facility. Okay. So that's really important. And also that's going to be a significant growth and contribution to the community. Yeah. So let me give you more context, Brian. Jabil's strategic expansion in Chihuahua positions them as a key player in the technology sector, offering not only enhanced manufacturing capabilities, but also contributing to the local and regional economic growth. This dual impact showcases their commitment to both global technological advancements and the communities in which they operate. So yeah, it's really good to grow right now in the EMS industry.
I think this is a great opportunity for Jabil. Did I get it right?
That's good. I can understand that.
Oops, I should listen better, shouldn't I? Really, great opportunity for them to get digitalization in place day one and just go efficiently forward. New plant, greenfield site, step one, step two, step three. What do you think, Joseph?
Well, after you have all the legal stuff, after you have all your facility, your construction, your build, I think it's very important to understand what is the business. So Jabil is for manufacturing. Okay,
Mhm.
that's gonna be really important to plan what they're gonna do in the shop floor. So shop floor gonna be very relevant. Talking about digital twin, could be process planning, could be about how they gonna execute manufacturing, also
Yep.
quality, also suppliers, right?
Yep.
So that's gonna be really important to put everything in order and do the processes for MPI.
Yeah, I think I'd probably get your environmental health and safety stuff out of the way early on as well. Get your employee health and safety side of things done as well. And as you say, then process planning, factory layout, getting all that done, then getting your work instructions set up, electronic work instructions, etc. And then you've got your inventory and into your MES. Exactly. Good.
I think one of the interesting things here that Joseph mentioned is that the state of Chihuahua is providing that support. You said it was labor, logistics, security, all of this. The state's actually helping with this factory getting off the road, or off the ground, not off the road. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. And so Joseph, talking about, I guess, expansions in Mexico, every week you come on here, you seem to tell us about a new factory or a new expansion happening. Are there any others this week?
Yeah, new investments, guys. All the industries by the nearshore, by reshoring, by all of this is growing up, right? So also the other suppliers, not only for manufacturing, they need to grow. And right now, UFP Industries buys Norpal and Tibasa expansion in Mexico. Yeah, so let me elaborate. UFP Industries continues its strategic expansion in the global packaging arena with acquisition of the remaining ownership interest in Norpal and Tibasa Universal Forest Products. The entities will now amalgamate as UFP Pallets operating across 3 key locations: Monterrey, Durango, and Guanajuato. While the
And what?
facilities
And what a what? And what was the
and
last one?
Guanajuato, sir.
Beautiful. I want to live there now.
It's really nice city.
Is
You
it?
should visit there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So while the facilities presently focus on wooden pallet production, they are diversifying into other structural packaging segments. This move reinforces UFPI's commitment to providing top-notch packaging solutions, right? So,
This is
Wow.
interesting because we've got a whole lot of, anytime something's manufactured, it's got to be sent somewhere, right? And anytime, or even between the facilities or on pallets or whatever. So the idea of an entire company that has to create packaging for stuff to be moved around is, an industry creating another industry. But it's something that is super important. And I think we don't think about all that often. Are, these pallets that exist come from somewhere and have to be made, and it's a huge industry.
Just imagine the challenges they're going to have as well, though. I mean, you're bringing, I think, was it Norpal and Tibasa? I'm not familiar with either one of them, but they're coming together. You've got cultures colliding, you've got CADs colliding, PLM colliding, probably manufacturing processes colliding. How do you amalgamate that into a kind of a single platform? Culturally shift things. I mean, this is big for them, but they got to move pretty quick because it's getting highly competitive down there. As we're all looking to reshore.
Yeah.
What is happening? It is a real supply chain like that, right?
Yep.
Growing up with the different suppliers, different tier, different levels, and
Yep.
also they need to consider what's going to be the design and integrate everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, it's that time. We've come to the end. So everyone, thanks for joining us.
Oh,
And
no. Hold on. No, I got a couple of little jewels for you. Talking of Augustine's laws, I got 2 or 3 I wanted to share with you guys. Law number 5. Did you know that 1/10 of the participants in a program produce over 1/3 of the output? Increasing, therefore, the number of participants merely reduces the average output. Law number, words of wisdom. Law number 13. There are many highly successful businesses in the United States. There are also many highly paid executives. The policy is to not intermingle the two.
That's great.
And last little jewel for you. Number 15, the last 10% of performance generates 1/3 of the cost and 2/3 of the problems. I rest my case.
so everybody, thanks for joining us.
Wait, Andrew, I thought you were going to say, you can't forget Law 29. Executives who do not produce successful results hold on to their jobs only about 5 years. Those who do produce effective results hang on about half a decade. All right. Sorry, Brian.
Okay.
Law 39 says never promise to complete any project within 6 months of the end of the year in either direction. This is a project and it's apparently never going to complete. So with that, everybody, thanks for joining us and bye.
Yeah. I got